Okay, it is August 4th, 2018. This is yet another Star Rider repair video. So this is a pretty interesting bug. I'm going to zoom in to see if you can see this on the camera. Basically the background is fixed and not moving, but the foreground, the video overlay, is kind of twitching, jumping up and down. Looks like about one line. You can also see it up here. Like up here you can see how the disk search is jumping up and down one line, and also right here at frame 1111. So I'm positive that this problem is somewhere on the VGG board, because I swapped out a good one and put this one in instead, and that's when the problem started. The problem also seems to be intermittent, because when I first powered on the game it didn't happen, and then once the game's been on for a while it seems to start. So this will be a really interesting one to track down and locate, because at the moment I have no idea what could be causing this. So I'm going to look at the schematics, think about it, think about how the hardware knows where to render the video overlay, and report back. Okay, so I let it cool down overnight and turned it back on, and the problem has gone away temporarily. So it does look like the problem only happens when it gets hot. So what I can do, which might speed up the process of finding the problem, is just cool down chips that I think might be the problem and see which one makes the problem go away when I cool it down. Because right now it seems like it is not exhibiting the problem, and I'm going to let it stay on for a while and see if the problem starts happening again. Okay, so I thought about the problem, and I noticed that the whole screen basically jumps up and down, which is kind of interesting. So it almost appears like the vertical counters are not being initialized back to 1 when the end of a field happens. That's probably not what it is, but that's what it looks like. So that's probably where I'm going to start first. See here on the schematic there's these 3 counter ICs. I think they're each 4 bits, and they keep track of which line the monitor CRT beam is on, and if they get, every time the end of the screen happens, these counters all get reset back to 0. But if for some reason one of them got reset back to 1, then it would probably cause the problem I'm seeing. And it wouldn't always get reset back to 1. It would sometimes get reset back to 0, sometimes get reset back to 1. So I don't know. That could be causing the problem. It seems like a long shot though, so it's probably something else. But probably what I'm going to do is find these 3 ICs on the board, and when I start seeing the problem, I'm going to cool each of them down and see if it fixes the problem. And if it does, then that'll give me a clue about which one to replace. Okay, I think I've figured out where the problem is, and it's kind of interesting how I figured it out. So I knew that the problem got worse as some part on the board got warm, and so I took an air blower and just blew around different parts of the board until the problem went away, to help isolate it, and then to actually figure out which chip was the problem. And this is probably a horrible idea. I just took a bag full of ice and touched it to each chip until the problem went away. So let's see if I can demonstrate that right now. So hopefully you can see the problem is still happening right now. And then if I make this particular, oh, you can't see. And I was going to have this, okay, make this chip cold. The problem should go away. So I figured it out by using a bag of ice. I know they have like freeze spray, but I don't have any, and I didn't want to wait 3 days for it to come. I guess I could have looked for it locally, but I knew I had a bag of ice, so there we go. So I figured it out. It is actually this. It's this one. That's the culprit right there, U84. So I'm going to go look at the schematic and explain why that would be causing this problem. Okay, so here is U84 on the schematic. It is an inverter. I'm pointing to the different spots I see it. And it is used to derive the horizontal and vertical sync from the incoming composite sync. And it has a bunch of analog stuff attached to it, resistors of various values, capacitors, basically resistors and capacitors. So it kind of appears that the engineers who designed this circuit kind of just experimented with random resistors and capacitors until they finally got the result they wanted. But I don't know for sure. And I have seen this problem before on a different, actually it was U85. The VBI decoder had some analog stuff going on, and it also had a problem with where it would start to, performance would degrade after about 30 minutes. So this is kind of a familiar problem. So I'm going to see if I can replace U84 and see if the problem goes away. And I'll report back. Okay, I replaced that chip and put a socket, and there's a new chip here, and so far so good. Looks like the stuttering that I was seeing before seems to be gone. I guess I'll have to let it run and get hot to know for sure, but for now it looks very encouraging. So the reason I think it was causing the problem is because the V-sync and horizontal sync that comes from the composite sync is used to calculate which field we're on. So I think since it was like jumping up and down one line, it was probably actually jumping up and down one field, kind of getting confused about what the current field was. So I think that's probably what was going on. So it kind of makes sense. I mean, I think my guess of the vertical counters was a good starting spot, but obviously it was misguided. So I'm glad if I had tried to figure out what that problem was by using a logic analyzer, it probably would have taken me a lot longer. So I'm glad I just kind of poked around the board and tried to cool different spots to find where the problem was. That was a lot faster. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and see you next time.